Sabre. If I have to pick just one, Sabre. I'll tell you why. I think I'll try to tell you why. First, Sabre is completely fucking nuts. And that may be sufficient appeal for me right there. It is versatile. Unlike the small sword or dueling sword that's a thrusting weapon, Sabre can go in many directions in many ways. So in a situation where the number and type of opponent is unknown, I'll go with the Sabre, thank you very much. Also, because I'm a horseman, Sabre is the darling of the cavalry. Sabre is the weapon for horseback. And who wants to be in the fucking infantry? So there's that. There is an energy about Sabre. The physicality of it, I love. If you're a small, frail person, you can still be very dangerous with a small sword. If you're a small, frail person with a saber, go get a small sword. I like that it's all yang, except for the part that's yin. I like the description of the cavalry being characterized by mad courage. I think to be good with Sabre, you have to be a little nuts because you get lost. You give yourself up to the present moment. You forget about survival. It's just in this moment. You are havoc and danger and chaos, and God help anybody who runs into you. I love that kind of commitment, that kind of energy. I once knew casually, not well, a saber teacher who was a wild Hungarian cavalry officer, and I met him. I was at the Junior World Championship games in Indiana, and I was up in the stands taking pictures. There's like, there must have been 24 fencing strips laid out and stuff going on. And I'm up in the top of the bleachers doing some shooting, and it seemed to me that everything stopped. And everyone, as if of one mind, turned to look in this direction, as if some cataclysm were approaching that drew everyone's attention. And what had happened was this particular saber teacher had entered and stood inside the door. And you could feel his energy from 100 yards away. It was just, he was there. He was powerful. And I always associate that energy with the saber. It's present, it's bold, it's powerful, it's masculine, it's aggressive. It has no surrender, and it has no quit in it. I feel like I'm ranting madly, am I? Okay, here's a story about saber energy. This is a true story. I'll leave out the names to protect the people who would be angry with me if I mention their names. This is some big competition. I don't remember if it was the national championships or whatever. Anyway, it's a big competition. And this is Sabre. This is around 1970s, something like that. That's when fencing still looked kind of like fencing. And as you know, the rule is if your blade breaks while you're fencing, they stop the action, right? You get a new weapon, you come up. But in saber, because if your blade breaks, it breaks usually on the last third of the blade, right? So if there's an action in progress against you, you can still parry. You still have that part of the blade you could defend yourself with. So if that hits you, you're hit. At least that was the way we were doing it at the time. So here's this big saber. It's in the finals, I think, and this particular fellow is fencing, and his blade breaks, but it doesn't break up here. It breaks right here, right at the guard. So he's got nothing in his hand. To some people, this would be daunting. Not to the saber man. He yells, charges at his opponent with nothing in his hand, and drives his opponent off the strip with nothing in his hand. That's saber. Here's a saber moment. When you teach saber, basic move is a cut to the head, yeah? And when your student does that wrong, and they have their point too low, it pokes you in the head, pokes you in the mask. And I hate that. Everybody who teaches saber hates that. This particular saber teacher hated it more than anything else in the world except the Nazis, whom he fought in World War II. So he's giving this demonstration, and his student is a guy on the Olympic team. And they're starting out, cut head please, sir. And he cuts head, and he does it wrong. And he hits him in the mask with a point. But he hits him in the mask so hard that he knocks the mask off the master's head down the floor. Okay? The teacher does not say a word, does not move. He looks at student. Time began to pass uncomfortably for everyone watching as the master stood there, and the student stood there, becoming increasingly more flustered, not knowing what the hell to do. Finally, the student put his saber down, went over, picked up the mask, put it back on the master's head, went over, picked up his saber, came on guard, and they carried on the lesson as if nothing had happened.